Hi, and welcome to the Reloading Podcast. Tonight, we're talking about hoarding. How much is too much? Tonight, we have Jason Trumbo and Jim Fleming, and I'm your other co-host, Mike Iselin. First off, we like to start off with what we did in reloading and shooting this week. So, Jason, take it away.
I ran out here in the shop about an hour ago and made up some 30-30 rounds just so I have done something in reloading this week. Other than that, I haven't done a doggone thing.
Shame on you.
I know.
Myself, I try to do something every day, even if it's something little, you know that. But like today, I was showing a friend my press, and he made some suggestions on some mistakes that I'd made on the press, and they're good mistakes. I also, the same friend, I returned his rifle to him after I'd worked up a pretty good hand load for it.
I really didn't do much of anything this week. Kind of farted around a little bit. Didn't really accomplish much of productive. I did solve an issue that I found a couple weeks ago that I was just talking to Jim and Jason off air. For anybody who's seen the video for the ill-fated episode 12, I had a problem with some of my 223 cases where I thought that there was part of the primer left in it. Turns out it wasn't. It just looks like they may have over-drilled the primer pocket and then put a brass spacer in there. And so I was just sitting here kind of dinking around a little bit and found out that, yes, the primer actually does fit in there. What I did is I just took a loose primer and kind of set it in there to see if it would start to fit, which it does. And at that point in time, I knew it was safe to actually press one in. So fits in there real nice, and we'll see if it'll show up. So, hey, there we go. So you can see the one on this one here is the one that doesn't have a primer in it, and then this one here has got a primer. So everything went through fine. There's just a little extra spacer in here that seemed to cause some problems originally, but we got her all taken care of now. So
You just made me think of a nightmare, Mike.
what's that?
What if they start making 223 ammo with large rifle primers, as opposed to 45 automatic ammo where they're making that with small pistol primers now?
Why did they switch to a small pistol primer on a 45?
Supposedly for uniformity of ignition. That's all. Actually, the bottom line is money.
Yeah.
Cheaper, because a small pistol primer uses less material per se, but yet they don't consider the fact that in the web of the case, on either side of the flash hole, or on either side of the primer, they still have extra solid brass material in there that they're leaving in there. And you know what, the way these folks run their numbers, they're using more brass in the small primer pockets than they are in the large primer pockets. That little bit of brass going around the rim of the primer, is solid brass. But that's a bean counter for you. Ain't no more than I do.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense, so.
Yeah, but like I said, that would be a nightmare if they suddenly start switching primers from small rifle primers in 5.56 ammo to large rifle primers. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, tonight we're talking about the lovely problem that seems to be causing the shortages on powder and bullets and not brass, but primers, and especially 22 rounds.
Hoarding. It's a delicate subject, and it also gets into a second aspect too, and that's gouging.
Yeah.
I'm going off camera for 1 second.
Okay.
I bought this box of Remington 525 Golden Bullet at the Field and Stream store in Erie, Pennsylvania. for the right price, about $25.
Nice.
To me, it looks backwards. So I bought 4 of them actually for
Mhm.
about $25. It was opening day on the store. They had brought in at least 3 truckloads of 22 ammo.
Yeah.
Can you imagine truckloads of ammo? And I went back 3 weeks and they were sold out.
Where
But
did they?
the point is, where did they sell it? People
No,
walking
I
in
said
off
where
the
did
street.
they?
Uh,
Where'd they find that much 22 ammo? That's what I
I
want to
would
know.
say it was probably a political connection with Remington.
Yeah.
I would say it that way. Because a big name like Field and Stream, it's a publishing company, but they've got some financial clout out there, and they may have offered Remington a little bit better price. 0.3 of a cent on a single round when you're buying 3 truckloads, that's a lot of money. But anyway, the
Yeah,
point is,
definitely.
I paid the right price for this, about 25. Well, the market price. Let me say it that way. I paid the market price
Yeah.
for this ammo, but I've also been to gun shows where I've seen this brick of ammo going for $60, and they won't negotiate, they won't talk about it or anything like that, and they won't negotiate down or anything like that. It's like, I got the ammo. You want the product, honey? Come up with the money.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. It's unfortunately that seems to be the big people that are cleaning out a lot of the, your WalMarts and stuff too, are standing there waiting, and then they're turning around and selling them at gun shows for double the price. And it's one of those cases of, okay, at what point in time do we stop? How can we stop something like that? And unfortunately, it's supply and demand. As long as people are still buying the stuff from them, then they're going to keep doing it. So,
Jason, you got an answer for the man?
Do I what, Jim?
You have an answer for Mike?
No,
The only way it's
I
going
don't.
to stop is, I have an idea, but I'd like for Jason to go ahead.
I was just going to say I think it's probably twice as hard in California to find 22 ammo. I do see it occasionally at stores for $70 for 500.
A brick?
yep.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I just keep walking, but it's just ridiculous out here.
The only way it's going to happen, or the only way it's going to stop, is when everybody has enough ammo and the store prices go back to what's reasonable and sensible. When everybody has so much ammo, there's a glut out there. When the ammo prices are just going down the tube because everybody has plenty.
Well, we're starting to see that with some of the centerfire cartridges. I've just happened to have these sitting on my bench still. So, the Independence ones. When these first hit the market, they were $12, $13 a box because we finally got a decent amount of 223 in. Now I'm seeing them a lot of places for $6 and $7 a box. It's still not quite down to your pre-panic prices for 20 rounds, but it's a lot better than it has been. But I think that was that, and then the American Eagle stuff from Federal really helped to turn around the 223 556 market by really starting to flood the market again in a way that they hadn't been able to.
Well, pre-panic prices, as I recall, for a box of 38 special was about $17, $18. That's 35 cents a round. Now everything's at least 50 cents a round.
Mm-hmm.
And hoarding. Well, let's face it. Us 3 are reloaders. We acquire brass. People give us brass. We acquire lead. And Mike, if you haven't, you should start. But that we're the original. We are the original recyclers. We recycle brass as long as we can, and then when we can't recycle it anymore, we scrap it and then we send it to the recycling plant. That sort of thing.
Right.
Same thing with lead. We take and built. I'm not going to tell you how much I have, but I will say I've got a good bit of lead. Jason's the same way. I know he's got several dozen pounds of lead, and so do I. But hoarding. Yeah, we say we're waiting for the balloon to go up and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just I've got mine, and that's going to be the long and the short of it, I guess. Hoarding.
Right.
In a way, it depends upon the ethics, but at the same time, you get somebody in your face. It's like I'm going to buy what I want. I'm going to sell it for the price I want. And if you don't like it, tough noogies.
Exactly, and that is the point behind the capitalist system. It is all about supply and demand. I'm not saying necessarily that what people are doing by going and grabbing it up from the Walmarts and the Dicks and the Shields and the Academies, and then turn around and sell it at gun shows is a bad thing. It's not. They saw a niche in the market. They saw a way to take an opportunity, and they're doing it. It all depends on your personal ethics on whether it's okay or not. Personally, it's not something I would do, but if it's all part of the capitalist supply and demand system, so good on them for finding a niche to fit into. So, but everybody wants to know when 22 is going to start coming back down, and that's kind of the explanation of how you're going to help with that is if we just stop paying the higher prices. We see it in powder. Powder's tripled in price probably in the last 3 years.
I won't say tripled, but for sure it's doubled.
Yeah, and that's another thing. But see, the problem in my opinion, the problem we have in reloading is we're not the primary end user for powder. So yep. We kind of got double bit. We got bit by the fact that we have some people that have more powder than they'll probably ever use in their lifetime, and they're just sitting on it. And then we have all of the powder that was required for trying to catch up with the ammunition rush. So, it was a double-edged sword because, we're secondary users, so we're down in the food chain for the powder. We're down in the food chain for the primers. We're down in the food chain for the bullets. We're down in the food chain for the brass. If you buy new brass, lead shot's a perfect example. You really have a hard time trying to find chilled shot. It's to the point now where Magnum shot is actually cheaper for a 25-pound bag than the chilled shot is. And so when I start reloading some trap rounds, I'm going to be using Magnum shot. I don't know how well it's going to work because Magnum shot kind of flies a little different, patterns a little different. So we're going to find out. That's going to be a fun experiment, but that's another one of those examples of being a secondary user where, But I think the biggest thing that we can do in the reloading community is if you're sitting on extra powder, check with your friends. See if they use it. See, if you've got somebody that's looking for that powder and you're sitting on some of it that you're for a fact you're never going to use. Offer it up. Nobody's saying you can't try and sell it at a higher price. If you can, cool. Supply and demand means that it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And if you can turn around and obviously if you had to order it in, you have that shipping fee that you have to recoup too. So that's something to consider.
True. The thing is, Jason and I are sort of in a quandary over the gouging issue. As you know, we run several reloading groups. Mm-hmm. And one of them is a buy and sell group that we created and so on and so forth. But the thing is, we're in a quandary. We feel we don't have the right to set their prices.
Exactly.
I've been approached more than once about so-and-so's ad. They're charging $20 for a brick of 22 Magnum ammunition. That's a hellish price, and that's gouging. But you know what? I don't have the right to tell that man how to set his price. But what you, the consumer, have the right to do is remember who the gouger is and never make him eat that. But you got to do it. I can't do it. Jason and I can't do it.
No. When you've got these companies that are charging, are taking advantage of the situation, and they're charging more, we as the consumers need to either Either you suck it up and you pay for it because you want it that bad, or you decide what your ethical moral line is and you stand to it. So, that is the biggest challenge, and that's where it's a lot of gray area. And yeah, I've seen it where people are complaining, well, we've got a couple of local things here in Wisconsin where we, buy and sell and horse trade, different, firearm stuff. And yeah, there's some people on there that have put some pretty outrageous prices. And a couple of people got on there and started getting on them about price gouging. And the admin of the page got on there and said, no, if you think it's price gouging, don't buy it. That's but right. Somebody may be willing to pay this, so therefore it's his right to ask for that. Now you can counteroffer and you can do whatever you want. It's just like when you're going to garage sales or you're going to, you're buying a car. You don't walk into the dealership, sit there, look at the sticker price and go, oh, that sounds good, I'll pay that. Nobody does. So if you see an outrageous price, say, hey, I'll offer you this for it. They may have been sitting on that for, a month and a half at that price and realize that, yeah, they're charging too much, and turn around and take your offer. That's my best advice for dealing with what people would term as price gougers, is make them an offer. If they bite, cool. If not, no big deal. You just move on and try and find it somewhere else.
Jason?
I would agree with that. But I do have a question for Mike.
Yes, sir.
If you have more powder than you'll use in your lifetime, how can you possibly figure that out? Take your circumstance. I think you have 2 young boys. Is that correct?
Yep.
How much 223 powder do you need in your lifetime to supply them and the wife and yourself?
Exactly. No, it is subjective. And, if you're sitting on, say you're sitting on a powder that you just came across at you came across at a gun show right before it took off, and you thought it was a good deal, so you bought it. And it's a powder that, for like a odd caliber that you don't have anything for, and you want to maybe get rid of it. It's selling. I'm just saying, it is subjective on, how much powder you would use in your lifetime. If you'd ask me right now how much 223, I'd probably overestimate. I'd have to sit down and figure it out how much I'd use per blah, 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 There's 7,000 grains in a pound, so, and I think the normal charge is like 26, so I can get, about, I don't know, what, 300, 400, 500 rounds out of a pound? So I'm probably roughly looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of at least a ton of powder.
A ton.
At least. I'm only 40.
I would stop at a ton. When I get to a ton, I'll stop.
I don't know where I'm going to store all that, but But, I'm not going to, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, you've got 8 pounds of this powder. That's too much. You need to get rid of it. Or you've got 20 pounds. It is subjective. If you're sitting there and you're looking at your reloading cabinet and say it's a cartridge that you don't reload anymore, and you know that it's for that specific cartridge, and yeah, you could use it for something else, but you've already got your primary and secondary powders that you use that for. It's that type of thing that I'm talking about. It's the people that are just, it's like the 22. They bought it just to, because they were panicked. It was panic buying. And so they're sitting on it because they just happen to come across it and they don't need it. That's the type of person that I'm saying, if you get to that point, then turn around and maybe look at selling it. So. A
tidbit for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mark Varenhorst put up a picture of a supply depot that in the reloading room of some supplies that they have stockpiled up for Camp Perry. Camp Perry is about to start. And,
they'll go through that in a week, though. I mean, it's Camp Perry. They'll go through that in a week and a half.
True. But I was going to say to you, we were joking about, you were talking about a ton of powder, literally 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's only 250 8-pound kegs of powder.
Mm-hmm.
That's not very much when you really think about it.
No, when you sit down.
It depends upon the shooting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you're supplying a shooting team, that's not very much powder.
No. And if like for shot shell, I can use unique for both 12 and 20 gauge. I'm probably going to be looking between myself and my boys. Probably, for shot shell, I'd be looking at probably close to 3 or 4 tons of powder, and that's not far off.
In a lifetime.
Yeah, easily. Actually, you could probably double that if we, even if we went trap shooting once a month. So.
Well, I don't reload shot shell yet, but how much powder do you use in a box of?
You would get. Well, I had to break it down for my. My niece has her own 20 gauge. She bought with her babysitting money last year, and so when I was looking into, I've got all the stuff I need for 12, and I've done some 12, and I didn't really have any need to do 20 until my boys started doing trap, got interested in trap, and then my niece did. So I went and broke it down, and you can get, I think it's 4. If everything goes perfect, out of a pound of unique, I can get 425 shells, 20 gauge.
That's not very much ammo.
No, that's between the boys. That is 2 weekends of trap.
That's 17 boxes of 12 gauge ammo, or 20 gauge, whatever. It's 17 boxes. That's not very much ammo.
No, but that's only 1 pound of powder too. So.
Excuse me, if you have to, Mike. If I start getting objectionable, mute me.
Okay.
So, Mike, your charge is roughly 1.6 for 20 gauge with unique then?
1.6 what? Grains? No, it'd be a lot more than that. No, it'd be a lot more than that.
What did I just do wrong?
Dagnabbit.
Well,
let's see
7,000 divided by 425. That's at least 16.47 grains. 16.5 grains, Jason.
No, that is 1.64, Jim, doing the math that way. 7,000 divided by 425.
Right. 7,000 divided by 425.
1.64.
No, sir. Check your calculator again. It's 1.16.47. Not to be argumentative, really and truly.
Maybe I should have entered 7,000 grains of powder instead of 700.
Yeah. Good thing your phone has a history in the calculator.
that darn decimal system.
Well, anyway, the point is, per round, that if I were to put 16.5 grains of unique in anything, that would be the most unique I've ever used in one in my whole life.
Well, yeah, mostly it's a pistol shot, which is, what is it, 5.4 I'm using for my, so. According to the official recipe, where'd it go? I am using, well, you're no fun. 16 grains.
All right. That's a lot of unique. But again, this is a low pressure round. It's big bore, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's moving 7/8 ounce of shot at 1155 feet per second. So.
Well, you see, the thing is,
it's only 8,700 psi.
Okay, but the thing is, you're moving 7/8 of an ounce. Jason and I are used to thinking in terms of grains.
Right.
400 grain bullet. That, of course, we both know that's about 7/8 of an ounce. But the point is, his 44 Magnum is 444. He's using half ounce bullets. but we don't think in those terms. We think in terms of grains.
Right.
Now, his leg taker offer, there's the story behind that. I'll tell you in a little bit. But his leg taker offer, his 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, he's using a bullet at 700, 750 grains. You know, you're talking darn near 2 ounces of bullet. But Jason, how much powder are you putting under that?
I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head, Jim. I don't have it handy.
You think 20 grains is too much? Just an estimate. I don't want. We're not giving out recipes. We're talking wild ass guesses.
No, that's pretty close.
20 grains. Wow.
According to Alliant Powder, if you're using Power Pistol with a 350 grain bullet in a 500 Smith, you are using 27 grains.
Yeah.
Now, to give you an idea of different burn rates and so on and so forth, if you use 2400 powder, you're using 42 grains.
Yeah, but
for the same bullet.
Remember, folks, we're talking about a cartridge that's just about as big as the end of that finger.
Right.
Anyway, the funny story, if you don't mind a tangent, the funny story is we were into another one of the male organ measuring contests. Okay, let's say it that way. 9mm versus 45. Shut up, Mike. Yeah, and Jason and I weren't involved in it. I was actually supervising it, but there's some people were making some ridiculous claims, and I had made the mistake of saying 6 rounds of 22 rimfire in the craniocular cavity, what we call the credit card, are going to be a whole lot more effective than a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum round in the lower leg. That was a hell of a claim I made. I was actually being a little over exuberant. That's a 3,000 foot-pounds of energy coming from that cartridge. It engages the lower human leg. It would probably either blow a hole right through a heavy cast bullet I've seen you putting out, Jason, or it would probably remove, if it hit a bone, it would probably break the bone and remove the rest of the leg right below the bone.
Now, see, if you were talking upper leg, then the 500 Smith & Wesson's, game on, because the chances of it hitting the main artery in the leg is pretty darn good.
Oh yeah. Again, even if you did hit, say, right in the center where the femur is and the heavy muscle, you probably would blow that leg off with a hollow point bullet.
Easily.
Talking about bleeding out.
Yeah.
But that's really the point. What I should have said was, you can't miss them hard enough to stop them. 6 rounds of 22 rimfire in the craniocular cavity are going to stop anything that goes on.
Yep.
And somebody that gets good with the 22 is going to be more dangerous than somebody who's afraid of that cannon that he's carrying.
Exactly.
Where I was going to go with that argument, Jim, was we all know these type of people, the people that have the adrenaline dump first and can't function. They just go into shaky, panicky mode. So They might be an excellent pistol shot, but if something happens and they get excited, they can no longer function. And if a 22 hits you here from straight on, it's going to glance off, and it's not going to do much to a bad guy. It would put me in pain because I'm in pain, but that's kind of where I was going with that. I know we never finished that discussion.
Yeah, he was trolling for a fight, and he didn't get one. Anyway, no, I was dead on my feet that night. I could not function any further.
Well,
I tried, but
final thought on that. Just remember, a 22 is better than a sharp stick.
Amen. That was part of what I said in that thread too. What's the best caliber to have? The gun that's in your hand or on your hip.
That's right. So, we've talked about gun snobs before and talking about high points and anything else. If that's what you can afford, then that's what you can afford. Don't be ashamed that you bought a high point. But learn how to use it. Learn how to use that 22. There's probably, obviously don't buy a Bryco or a Jennings 22. Stay away from those. Unless you want to be able to throw your gun at them because it won't shoot, then by all means. But North American Arms makes some fabulous 22s. Then there's Bond Arms that's got their little 22 double shots, and there's quite a few different ones that
Derringers.
Bond Arms claims
Derringer style.
Yeah, they're Derringer style. So I'm kind of careful when I say that. So,
Yeah.
but it's whatever you can get your hands on, and then get the proper training to use. In response to Jason's point, where you may be a good shot, that's where your training comes in, because you will automatically default to your best level of training.
Lowest level of training.
Lowest level of training. Your best practiced, I should say. Whatever you've spent the most time working on, that's where you're gonna default to. So if you've spent, you may have spent time with a 22, but if you've spent all this time, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds, which nowadays, good luck finding all that ammo. But if you spent that much time with a 22, then you get to the point where it's quote instinctive, and then that's a whole different story. It kind of counteracts the whole, do you remember where to put your shots? Because it's muscle memory at that point in time. Your muscle memory takes over, your brain takes over subconsciously, and it's draw, point, fire. So that's why training is highly important on no matter what you do.
But anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Yes, hoarding.
Jason, how much are you hoarding?
I'm not hoarding a doggone thing.
See how you are, you liar? That's all right. But no, the point is, how much ammunition do you think somebody could actually hoard? How much? Truckloads of it? A truckload? 2 truckloads? Yeah, it's subjective. Mike, you probably don't have 1/2 of what Jason and I have together. Individually, no. Excuse me. And Jason and I together, he and I have had private conversations. We're doing all right.
Well, I already decided if we have a SHTF moment, I'm working my way towards Pennsylvania.
No, head that way. Head to California.
No, I don't want to go to California.
You got him good.
That's where all the idiots are going to be.
That way. Jason's on my right in the on my left in the screen. Head that way. No, I tell you what. Believe it or not, we could change if we've run out of hoarding topic. Believe it or not, I think one of the best survival guns to have is a 22.
I have a Ruger single 6 with interchangeable cylinders. 22 long rifle, 22 short, long rifle, and then once I switch cylinders, 22 Magnum.
Yep.
So, and it's single action, aim, point, shoot. I'm very accurate with it out to 25 yards.
Well, that's rabbit killing distance. That's squirrel killing distance. You can kill a deer at 25 yards. If you learn to place your shots. And if you're as accurate as you say you are, you could put one right in the ear.
I took a shotgun shell at 25 yards.
That's pretty fine shooting. That's pretty fine shooting.
Oh, the best part.
The question I got is, did you hit the primer?
No, it was an empty hull standing on end. So my dad. The best part, it was my dad's single 6 before I'd gotten mine. He took 4 shots at it first and missed. So I took with the last shot in the cylinder and drilled it. That was the one time that was my proud moment for out shooting my dad. It's the only time it's ever happened.
Last time I shot at an empty shotgun shell, it was 2 of them at 100 yards with my Mossberg MVP. I took them both.
What caliber?
.223.
Oh, that's easy. Put them on 500.
Easy?
Yes.
You think a 100-yard shot shooting a 3/4-inch diameter shotgun hull is an easy shot?
Was it open irons?
Nope.
Telescopic sight?
Yes, sir.
Yes. 100 yards? Yes, easy.
Most people can't shoot a 3/4-inch group.
Well, here's the further qualifier on that then. Did you hand load?
Of course it was a hand load.
Well, then yeah, that's easy.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the compliment.
Jason could even do it.
Wow.
That was out of the blue.
Couldn't resist.
Well put. Well placed. Well aimed, Michael. Nice one, Mike. Nice one. Jason, it's your turn in the barrel tonight. You're going to catch all the darts.
Oh no, I fully expect Jason to return fire.
Oh, he does. Oh, he does.
I know. I remember after the show last week. Oh.
Anyway.
No.
Actually, if we're going to do the subject, I guess we ought to return to it, unless we've exhausted it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the whole idea of hoarding and price gouging is subjective. You know, nobody can sit up on their soapbox and preach down to the masses going, oh, you have 5 pounds of powder, you're hoarding. Because you can shoot that in a week, Actually, if you're reloading, like, say you're Max Michel or Julie Golub or, anybody like that, professional shooter, you could go through a pound of powder in about an hour and a half. So, as we were kind of pointing out, and I thank you guys for, making that point, is, yeah, it's all subjective. How much powder would you really use in a lifetime? How much powder will you use in a week? Maybe it's bad weather in the middle of Wisconsin and it's January and it's colder than crap, so all you're doing is reloading because you don't feel like going out and freezing at the range. So, yeah, you may not be using that powder at the current moment, but as soon as March hits and the weather gets warm, you're going to go through 5,000 rounds in the first week. So, it's that type of it's that type of thing where we in the community can't really sit back and, say that to other people, well, you've got too much because you're sitting on this or you're sitting on this, because we don't know how much they're going to go through it. And the whole entire idea of why most of us got into reloading in the first place isn't so we could necessarily save money. It's so we could shoot more for the same money. So if we're going to try and condemn people for doing that very thing, then what's the point?
Well, you make a very good point, and I would address this to the podcast listeners of the reloading room. Unfortunately, I don't think I don't think I'm going to take and hit the mark tonight. My point is, you don't have a right to tell other people when somebody puts up, they scored 3 kegs of powder and they're really proud of that. You have no right to say, well, why don't you share a little bit of that? Excuse me, they were in the right place at the right time. Powder is still being made. All the factories are still going. The Alliance fire you talked about last week, that was a warehouse fire. That wasn't a production fire. That was a warehouse that went down. Yeah, there was some powder that went, but that was a warehouse fire. So they're still producing powder, and they're still making money, and it's out there. Winchester, Remington, they're all producing ammunition. They're all out there working 24/7. Problem is, there are folks out there, and it's some of the folks that do the bitching and carrying on. The gouging, the gougers. They're the ones that, no, it's the ones that are bitching about the gougers that I think need to take and understand, you're the problem. One of the things I did find out about that never really thought about was unscrupulous FFL dealers.
Yeah.
Think about that a little bit. I don't want to take and say a whole lot because I've got some personal friends that are FFL dealers. And I know these folks, they're hard-working souls. But, there are the people out there that work off for tabletop. Oh, they'll buy at factory prices. They'll buy 6 cases at factory prices, but then they'll turn around and sell it for $60 a brick at a gun show. And they're getting the price.
Yeah.
Those are the bastards I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line on all of this, if you think it's price gouging, don't buy it.
That's right.
Powder is out there. You just have to want to first get off your butt and put the effort forward to look for it.
Thank you.
Second, you have to be willing to either wait for your local place to get it and hope that they get it, or quit your complaining, buck up, pay the $27 hazmat fee, and order a bunch. when you order 10 pounds of powder or, whatever the maximum capacity is on that $27 hazmat fee, they only charge it once per the shipment, not once per pound. So if you order up a bunch of powder or you get some people together and order up a bunch of powder, then you're going to cut down on the cost of that hazmat fee. Now, here's the thing. Be careful who you go in with. I have seen from a couple of our local areas, there are some people that got together, they didn't really know the person, and they all pitched in, gave money, and the person was supposed to order the powder, and the person that was supposed to order the powder disappeared. So know who you're dealing with if you're going to go in on a powder buy. Make sure that you, just like what's done in the reloading room, you vet the people. Make sure they're legitimate. Make sure that you know them. Make sure you know how to get a hold of them. Make sure that at least one of the people that you're dealing with, make sure that you have personal knowledge of one of the people, and maybe if it's a friend of a friend, and your friend is willing to step up to the plate and vouch for that person, then so be it. But you need to be a responsible consumer and not just blindly give your money to people if you're going to get into a powder buy. Powder buys are great as long as you get a little group together, because you do save money on that hazmat fee.
Yes, sir. I've done group buys myself personally. Everybody knows who I am. They got to know exactly how to get a hold of me, stuff like that. Now, I do it locally. I wish I could do it. I will, like, for example, Jason lives on the West Coast. I live on the East Coast, well, near the East Coast, but whatever. The point is, we can't possibly do that unless I take and just stick a few cases in a box and send it to him without paying the hazmat fee. But that's unethical, and it's not illegal. But it's also a good way to take and make sure UPS never carries your items again.
Right.
They have the right to refuse to do business with you.
Yeah, I don't think some people realize that. So.
But no, I've done group buys. But again, too, my bona fides are out there.
Right, and that's the thing is, you've spent the time and the effort to get to know the people that you're willing to, to partner up with. So. Jason, you know anybody that does group buys in your area?
I do it with one of my friends, but usually I'll usually have enough cash to pay for 32 pounds. That's what your hazmat will get you, 32 pounds of powder.
Yeah.
So I usually have enough cash, or my wife will, if I ask permission. And I can get 32 pounds and then notify my buddies, and then if they want to buy in, it's already bought, it's already coming here. So, yeah.
Yeah.
An item here, Jason, that this is another problem that you just brought up a good point. A problem with the hoarding or the shortage is Powder Valley, for example. They're only allowed to ship 100 pounds of powder on any given business day, or that is per UPS delivery truck. So 3 cases at 32 pounds per case. That's and don't forget now, you got to add the weight of the box. So that's 96 pounds. Well, those boxes weigh more. Those 3 boxes weigh more than 4 or 5 pounds or whatever. But the point is, that's another one too. And UPS probably only sends 2 trucks to Powder Valley Inc. per day. Yeah, they told me about that. And primers, the same way. I've done a group buy on primers. And, then you take and also run into a problem with that account that I use. I run into a problem, you're only allowed to spend $1,500 a day. When I had a pretty good group buy going, I had over $2,000 worth of orders, cash in hand, in my account, waiting to buy primers. It may sound like a lot of primers, but I couldn't get them all in one day because of the bank fees and hazmat. There are ways around it, but most of the time it involves driving to Missouri or Kansas or wherever PVI is.
Yeah, or your other suppliers that you can find. If the best thing you can do is talk to your local shops and say, hey, I'm willing to pay for this now. I'm willing to pay for this much now. can you, how long am I looking, that type of thing. Because if you can do it like that, then that's just going to come on their normal shipment, and there usually isn't any hazmat fees associated with that. It all depends on whether you can wait or not. If you can't wait, then, go on the internet.
Well, the hazmat fee is still there for every shipment of powder and primers. But the thing is, the dealer absorbs it because in his markup. Now, $27 per shipment or per container of hazardous materials, but they wind up dividing. If they might have, I don't know, 32 pounds of powder. That's 32. I don't know what the math is. 3,200 or 32. Yeah, 32 pounds of powder times, say, $30 a can, $960. Well, he's not paying that, but he can absorb that $27 under that $960 blanket price.
Yeah. The other thing, too, with that is a lot of your dealers may not necessarily have a hazmat charge of your normal situation because they're going to get it on a freight truck. And
okay.
So, yeah, when you're sending stuff on a freight truck, there's still the hazardous rules apply because it's still interstate commerce. It's still regulated by ICC. So, just like if you're shipping, wet acid batteries or anything like that, there's all these different, hoops you got to jump through, just like you would if you're shipping at UPS. But when it's coming on a freight truck or on a semi, your charges are different. So, maybe Alliance sending out a semi that's going to hit 4 different distributors in an area. So instead of, shipping at UPS or whatever, they're sending out a freight truck. So now instead of, $27 per 32 pounds or whatever it is, it's, $27, a skid, or that type of thing. That the trucking company, the trucking company specializes in hauling hazardous, or, they have drivers that are certified, whatever the case may be, and so your shipping charge is different. So if you can talk to your dealer, you can wait till they get their stock orders in, depending on what type of volume their dealer is. Now, the place I go is Reckham's Target Shop. They're a pretty big volume dealer. At any time before the madness, they probably had a few thousand pounds of powder in the store. So. The picture of Camp Perry was their retail shelves, honestly.
Yeah.
So, when they're ordering powder, they're ordering a big amount, and they're not going to be paying, they're not going to get the little piddly shipments.
Well, that's, this last part of our discussion was related back to the hoarding problem because of ways to alleviate the hoarding problem, meaning,
right.
Buy big. Go get a bunch of folks together, buy big. That way you have some for a while, and you become one of the so-called quote-unquote hoarders.
Mm-hmm.
Us three, we're all hoarders. Jason and I don't exactly talk quantity, but at the same time, if he thinks like I do, which I know he does, he's well stocked.
Right. And I can tell you from personal experience, if you don't stock up, you don't make sure you have that extra pound, even if it's just an extra pound or two, then when it comes time to, you've gone through those hunting rounds and you kind of haven't really been paying attention like I did. I probably got about 10 cartridges of Win 748 left that, I can't find Win 748 right now locally, and I don't want to pay the hazmat fee, so what I'm going to wind up doing is come up with a different load. Now, that's a fun thing at the same time because, oh, darn, I got to mix up some different recipes, and I got to go shooting. Oh, man. But at the same time, it's kind of an annoyance because I've got this specific recipe down. I know what it does in my firearm with this particular bullet in this, that type of thing. So now I've got to do that all over. So in one respect, it's fun because now I have an excuse to go back out again. Not that I need one, but at the same time, now it's kind of an inconvenience because I have this really great hunting round that I now have to try and recreate with a different powder.
But you see, there is another benefit. You get to know your gun better.
Right.
The more you shoot, the only way, a deputy sheriff told me, the only way to get to know your gun is you got to shoot your gun, and you got to shoot that gun a lot.
Exactly. They talk about the 1,000-round trigger job. What that is before you. I'd love to give credit to whoever came up with it. I'm sorry, I think I heard it on the Gun Dudes at one point in time, but somebody was saying about a 1,000-round trigger job, which means you put 1,000 rounds through that firearm before you ever do anything with the trigger, because you need time to really get, they don't do a lot of fit and finish on your standard firearms. They don't spend time polishing the hammer and the sear and everything else so that it's smooth, it's all really nice and buttery smooth. The only way that gets there is by using it, by shooting 1,000 rounds, getting that trigger pull a couple, 1,000 rounds, 1,500 rounds, 2,000 rounds, so where it's nice and smooth, unless you want to go through and polish also. But the easiest way is just to, shoot it. Everything settles in.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I had some brand new shooters on the range a couple last weekend, and they're using my Dan Wesson, which I've had since the 80s. That probably has a 10K round trigger job on it, right? But the thing is, it was kind of interesting watching them. You could see when they got their finger in the trigger guard, and it just got away from them. That's all there is to it. It went up before they were ready, and it was just interesting to see. But now, it's actually happened to me, and happened to me recently. The doggone trigger just got away from me. I just put a little too much pressure, wasn't paying attention. I'm shooting at steel, and I wound up shooting into the grass because the doggone round went in the wrong place. But that's one of the benefits of the 1,000-round trigger job. You get to know your gun, but the second benefit is what you said. It smooths out the working parts. Jason, you got a revolver with a 1,000-round trigger job?
Yeah. My 44 Magnum does.
Yeah?
And my 357 Magnum.
What are you shooting at 44? Keith wad cutter, semi-wad cutters?
Yeah, I have a 240 grain Keith.
And what do you shoot? What do you shoot your velocity at?
I was using Unique, and I believe I was at. You could probably tell me better, Jim. It was 1,100-1,200-ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I finally got a hold of some H110, and I'm up a little over 1,300 feet per second with that.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Now, you don't have an 1894 for that 44, do you?
No.
Okay. That would be a lot more fun, too, but that would put you up about 1,500 feet per second. But anyway, no, it's a Marlin 1894C is what I'm talking about, folks. A lever gun for 44 Magnum. But anyway, no, I know Jason does a lot of shooting, as I try to do for myself. My problem is I'm still working, and I work a lot, and that's my personal problem. But anyway, what are you shooting at 357? Same wad cutter? Same semi-wad cutter?
It's 150 grain. I think. Shoot, I can't say for sure, Jim.
That's all right. Just tell me the velocity if you know that. 1,200.
Unique. I can look it up here real quick. Unique is what I use for powder in it.
Oh, geez, you like the same powder I do.
Yeah.
I wonder where you got that idea.
Where did I get that from? And who's hoarding it? Because I can't find it right now either.
I have no idea what you're talking about, boy.
I only got 2 pounds of it. Sorry, you can't have any.
Oh, there you go.
Because I'll go through that real quick, loading up shells, shotgun shells.
Oh, I'll bet. Well, like you said, I don't have the calculator up right now, but 425 rounds per pound. That's not very many.
No, especially when you can't replace it. That's kind of where I start to worry. I can't replace something. I don't want to start burning it up.
Yep.
If you're using 6 grains, if you're using 6 grains of powder, it's 1034.
Well, I
on
was going to say
158.
5.6 is 1250, but yet if you're using 16, you get 4.25, 425.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. So 1034 with a 158 grain bullet. That's moving pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I drive 200 grain bullets at an even 1100 feet per second. That's that long bullet that I'm going to send you some, Jason.
Good.
So speaking of hoarding and so on and so forth, we were also talking about lead earlier.
Yeah.
Where's a good place to get some lead for the folks?
eBay.
Obviously, you're not gonna, give your secrets away, but
eBay.
eBay. Okay.
Yeah. You watch the dealers. You watch the ones that have a lot of transactions, and they you watch their negative reactions. That's the most, the negative comments, because eBay does offer you a tool. Go to these dealers that are selling lead, and if they're a brand new dealer and they only got, five comments and 2 of them are negative, I would say stay away from that guy. But you get somebody who's got 300 comments and only 1% of those is negative. Well, that's a little bit different, It could be just a dissatisfied customer that got a steel wheel weight when he was supposed to get a lead one. You got to suck it up yourself. Like you said, Mike, you got to eat one once in a while.
Yep.
The guy who's trying to take and sell you lead wheel weights and he accidentally slips a piece of steel in there, and then you give him a negative comment. I don't think so.
No. No, and that's the thing is with eBay and with Amazon and whatever else, when you're giving comments, when you're giving feedback, make sure you contact the actual person first, or try and contact them. If they don't get back to you, then by all means, do what you need to do. But make sure you make an attempt to contact that business person first, because it may be a case of it was an accident. Because when you go to tire shops nowadays, which probably is a good place to get them. I've gotten some from there when I was doing soapbox derby or pine box derby cars with the kids. We use lead for weights on those, and so wheel weights are a great thing for that too. You make your own sinkers and all that stuff. So there's a lot of vehicles that are coming with steel weights now, and if they just throw them all in a bucket, the guy comes by, pays for the bucket, and sorts them, and maybe he misses one. So then you've got that issue.
I've had it happen, and you don't say a word. You just eat it up. You just eat it. eBay is a great source. There's a lot of lead being sold on eBay. Unfortunately, it's $1 a pound, and you start. I'm not going to take you to do the math, but $1 a pound on wheel weights, and you wound up losing at least 20% of that. You buy 100 pounds, you're going to get 80 pounds of. Probably going to get a ratio of roughly 80%. So 80 pounds of clean bullet metal, and start dividing that out. 240 grains, 7,000. The math is there. Anybody who's reloading knows how to do the math.
Yep.
Where's a good place to buy lead? I'd say eBay.
Okay. And depending on where you're at, if you've got mom and pop tire shops, go hit them up.
That's the best place.
Yeah, because then you're not going to pay shipping, you're not going to do anything else, and you're still going to get the same lead wheel weights.
And if you're a smart human being, you'll wind up making sure you take a box of donuts and a 6-pack of Mountain Dew into that shop when you take before you take the buckets out.
Yeah, and some of the shops, they don't have anybody that's buying it from them, so they have to pay to get rid of it, because lead is considered technically a hazardous material. Depending on where they're at, or it has to be recycled. And unlike you and me in the normal civilian world, where we get curbside pickup and they pick up at recycling and they're garbage, if you're a business, you have to pay to have your stuff picked up. You have to pay to have your recycling picked up, and lead's a heavy thing. And if they've got somebody that's charging them by the pound, you come in and say, hey, I'm looking for lead wheel weights. And they say, well, you can have all that you can carry. You just got a whole bunch for free. So it doesn't hurt to stop and ask.
Agreed. But you go into big box stores like Walmart, it won't happen because they dispose of their wheel weights through the means you said. They have to pay to get rid of it. They have a contractor that comes in, cleans up their wheel weights, And that's where they wind up recycling those wheel weights.
Right. That's, recycling lead is a huge industry. Most of it winds up probably, at least 50% of your consumer lead usually winds up back in batteries. Lead acid batteries for cars and boats and trucks and stuff. And but then you've got your wheel weights, you've got your sinkers, and your fishing lures, and and then probably the second biggest thing behind batteries would have to be ammunition.
Oh yeah. I mean, we use lead projectiles, and that's just the long and the short of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, anything else to add on hoarding?
It was your topic, Jason. Come on, contribute.
I'm not hoarding. I was just trying to be prepared.
Hair splitter.
Yeah. But you preach, be prepared. You have since day one.
Yes, sir.
That's where we got it from.
Yes,
so
sir.
when you had the extra money and the product was available, I would purchase what I could afford at the time.
I'm guilty as charged.
As far as me having a lifetime supply of any powder, I ain't there yet, brother.
Nope.
Nor am I. I'll tell you when the day I know when I have too much powder, I won't be shooting again.
Right.
So, like you said, Mike, it's subjective, How do I know how much is enough? When I sell my last gun, I give my last gun to my son.
Yep.
I think in the group, the people that whine about hoarders are the people that are not prepared. They didn't purchase when they could, or they got into the game really late. And they're angry because they can't get product. Well, I'm angry because I can't get product either, dude. But I'm happy that Mike picked up a keg of whatever powder, or Jim got his unique or whatever. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep trying too.
Well, Jason, you brought up a very good point that I really haven't thought about too much since 2011. That fall, you were in the reloading room, and I went on a tear. I went on an absolute rampage. Every posting that went up, I was talking about Groundhog Day coming. Groundhog Day. What's Groundhog Day? Groundhog Day is a day when you're going to need that extra powder that you were smart enough to put away. And on the podcast here, I'll say it. I was talking about the 2012 elections. Everyone knows that. I don't get that political in the reloading room. I don't get political at all. But the point is, and I knew Doc Wesson and Mark Vanderberg both were talking about it, and suddenly I realized if the election did not go the way I was hoping it would, and it didn't, there is going to be a shortage that is just going to be just incredible. Well, I didn't experience much of the shortage back in 2008, but now the shortage of 2012 is just about 2.5 years old, and it's like 2 years old, and this is far worse than it was back in 2008.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And that was why I kept harping and carrying on about Groundhog Day, and I don't spell it H-O-G, I spell it H-A-W-G.
Yep.
For the reason making the distinction, it's a political thing. That's all.
Yeah. 2008, you could still walk into pretty much anywhere and you could get reloading components. That wasn't a problem. They had the shortages on the pre-made ammunition, but they didn't have any issues on any of the components. I could walk in anywhere and get, I'd go into Gander even, and they'd have just, their powder container, their powder area literally had, hundreds and hundreds of pounds of powder. They had, stacks and stacks of primers. They had brass all over the place. You could find bullets for whatever caliber you wanted, no matter how oddball it was. They had them sitting on the shelf. It wasn't an issue. But 2012? No.
Yeah. 2014, forget it.
Yeah.
I was in, Mike, I didn't tell you this, but I was up in Tonawanda, New York, the largest gun store in New York State. It was a Gander Mountain store. And I walked around. They had plenty of centerfire ammo. They had plenty of shotgun ammo. And they had targets. They had this, that, all kinds of shooting accessories. They had lots of toys. But I walked over. Finally, I walked the whole length of the store looking for the reloading department. They don't have one.
Nope. Gander's done.
Not a grain of powder for sale.
Gander is pretty much done away with their reloading. The one here, the building itself is less than 5 years old. They built a whole brand new one. And then after they built it, they decided they were going to put a new range in. So they got rid of their classic gun room, and basically they limited their reloading section. They have shotgun wads and a couple other minor things, but they don't carry all their reloading supplies anymore.
Yeah.
So
these are things that are contributing to the hoarding problem. Or the shortage problem, really. Not the hoarding problem, but the shortage problem.
Right.
Because if it's not available, I can't buy it.
Nope.
Now, there's a Gander Mountain down in Pittsburgh that still has a powder locker, but I tell you what, the next time I get down there, I'm going to have to spend a couple $100 on powder because, and that's really, it's just $30 a can. That's only 6 cans of powder.
Right. That's the thing is, you know, it doesn't take long to rack up money when you're buying powder.
No. But you know, like we were talking about, it's a partial solution. You buy it from Powder Valley, and the website is powdervalleyinc.com. www.powdervalleyinc.com, and they sell lots of primers, and there's also I bought military surplus powder. It's suitable for a lot of it. Excuse my phone ringing. But anyway, the powder I bought is suitable for 5.56 and 5.56 and 308. It was military pull down.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought enough that it hurt. That's the real answer as to the hoarding problem. You buy and buy and buy until it hurts.
Yep. Like you said, it all depends on how bad you want it.
Yes, sir.
So.
And I'm still shooting when I want to go.
Right. So I'm on. Let's see if they have. Bullseye, Clada. You know, I'm give you an idea. I'm on Powder Valley right now, and most of the Alliant. You know, I'm going through Unique. They don't have any currently. So
I'm not surprised. That man over there with the tank top's got it all.
He doesn't have quite all of it, but
yeah, this guy, that guy right there on my left.
By the way, Powder Valley is in Winfield, Kansas.
I thought they were in Kansas.
I will put a link to them in the show notes.
Good, thank you, sir.
So, also put a link to my favorite local shop, which also ships nationally, which is Recubs. So, you know, it's out there. You just got to take the time to actually look for it. That's the problem. Is most of the people that are whining don't want to spend the 20 minutes on the internet looking. They don't want to spend, you know, they don't want to call up their local store. They don't want to keep checking and checking and checking. They want to just have it magically there. So, and that's the problem, is everybody just expects it to just automatically get handed to them. So.
Yep. I'm on a waiting list at my local reloading store, so they know when it comes in, they'll give me a call and let me know. And usually it's so few and far between and everybody wants it, I might only get 1 pound. But that's 1 pound that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't tried.
Right.
Go ahead, Mike.
And that's the thing is, especially if you've had that relationship with your locals, then they're going to have a situation like that, they're going to be more than willing to put you on there. But if you're just one of those whiners that walks in, goes, ugh, and walks back out, they're probably not going to want to work with you.
Right.
So, anybody who's, let's see here, what do they got here? So, I mean, I'm looking through, they've got a little bit of powder. Currently, they don't have any unique either. I know unique's one of those ones that a lot of people have switched to, because it is a nice pistol powder. So.
You betcha.
But yeah, they don't have any.
I use it for everything from 9mm all the way up to 44.
So. But it's spending that time looking, and that's the thing, is you got to spend the time looking, and most people don't want to. They'd rather just spend the time on Facebook whining about it when they could have spent the time looking for it, found it, and then probably gotten it and be reloading.
You know what I just realized I forgot to do?
What's that?
Put a post about the podcast.
Oh, yeah, we did forget to do that tonight. Oops.
Whoops.
So, well, on that note, anybody got anything else to add?
There is, yeah, I do, a little bit.
Okay.
I just realized my local gun shop, I can still buy ammunition, I still buy guns and so on and so forth, but I can't buy reloading supplies so much. They trimmed down, they reduced their size about 50%. They were actually clearing out their inventory of dies. About the only dies they have now are bastard calibers like 7mm Remington Ultra Mag. Okay, yeah. There's nothing wrong with 7 rum, but the thing is, it's an oddball caliber. It's not
right.
like 30-06 308.
Right.
Matter of fact, a friend of mine asked me today if I was interested in shooting his 338 Remington Ultra Mag. Nope, not without a muzzle brake. Not without a muzzle brake in the porch. I let it over there to the guy on the left, a big strong guy. He could take all that punishment.
You mean you don't want a dislocated shoulder, Jim? Come on, where's your sense of adventure?
No, thank you, sir. 35 foot-pounds of recoil slamming into my shoulder? No, thank you. 30-06, the 308 gives you about 17.5. 30-06 gives you about 20. And the last time I fired a 30-06, it had a steel butt plate, and it gave me everything it had. And no, Jason, it wasn't Sal's M1 Garand. It was a bolt gun.
What, a Springfield? Or a modified Enfield?
I think it was a Springfield. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I think it was a 1903 A3.
Yeah, it could have been a Mauser 98 action, too. There's a lot of those that
it could have been.
came.
I wouldn't know. I don't remember.
8mm with a metal butt plate are always fun, too.
Oh, yeah!
Good old Mausers.
Sit up and take notice.
Yeah. 7.62 by 54 Mosins.
Well, that's 30-06 caliber is what that is. It's 30-06 equivalent, I should say.
Yep. So.
You ever think about cast bullets for that, Mike?
I don't have one right now. I traded mine for a 303 Enfield, so.
Oh. Okay, well, so, okay, cast bullets and centerfire rifle. Have you ever thought about it that way?
Yeah. I eventually will get around to that. So I don't have, at the current moment, I don't really have the opportunity or the time and everything to get around to casting. I don't, I haven't gotten to the point where I am shooting enough long rifle or centerfire rifle to consider that, really. I mean, with the 223, I don't really know. I have not seen lead cast. I don't know if you can. I don't know how practical it would be for it, how much it would affect accuracy. So, but my 308, I don't really shoot a lot. My 303, I probably might get around to it at some point in time, but I don't know. That's a whole separate. It's not. I probably would get into doing lead cast for my handguns first, long before I do any of the long rifle.
I'll tell you what about that casting for a centerfire rifle. I wound up making up about 150 rounds of 308 for a bolt gun, yeah, and I had a heck of a good time. Now, I was shooting 180 grain bullets, and I kind of underestimated it and didn't really hold on to the gun properly, and it gave me a bruise. 1,500 feet per second, 180 grain bullet. It's like hold on to it, you know.
Only 1,500 feet per second? That's kind of slow for a
That's where I
308.
started out. That's where I
Oh,
started
okay.
out. But no, you're not going to take and get. The thing is too with cast bullets, you're actually looking for, you know, eye of the needle kind of accuracy. It's what you're trying to get.
Right.
And if you're driving that bullet, and I ran that gun in that caliber, and my son's 30-30, I ran those bullets clear up to 2,400 feet per second in his 30-30. And even he started to take, you're not complaining, but, you know, mention the recoil was getting pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And we stopped because we couldn't hold it on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Yeah.
There's no sense of throwing lead away at that rate. So we backed down. I did get some, you know, pretty much 2 and 3 hole groups like that. But, you know, that was at 16, 1,700 feet per second.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, we're getting into tangents. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
What powder were you using for that 30-30 when you were testing that out?
It's the WC-846, the military surplus powder, Jason.
Okay.
It's roughly the equivalent of BLC2.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of that.
Yeah, and then Troy enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly. That's the same bullet. Same bullet. Now, you got BLC2, the WC-846 in there?
No, this is IMR 4227.
That's not a bad powder for that caliber. And the thing is, too, Mike, what's funny is we're driving, I drove lead bullets at 2,400 feet per second, which is faster than a handgun, but I didn't get a bit of leading. When I got done, the bore was just as clean as the day the gun was made.
That's a good thing.
But the thing is, your accuracy is, Jason, I would bet, has got that set up at about probably 1,500 for starting out, and he probably, once he gets his accuracy, he won't push it like I did, you know, trying to take it, see how fast I could drive it. And that was actually a bit of an experiment. But he'll probably find his accuracy around 1,700 feet per second.
The rumor has it, this charge with that bullet, it's on the low end is where your high accuracy is.
Right.
So 1,500, 1,550 feet per second is where I'm going to be looking hardest.
Right.
That's where I found it in that Hawkeye I just got rid of today, Jason. It was down around 32.1 grains of IMR 4895. It was funny. It's almost a minimum load. And I printed at 7/8 of an inch group at 100 yards with a deer rifle. When I printed that, that's when I quit. It's like, this is a deer rifle. This is not a 900-yard coyote blaster. You know what I mean?
Right.
All right, Mike, if you want to wrap it up, go ahead.
Well, you know, it's fun to sit here and talk about all the different things. So.
Yes, sir. The only thing is, you know, I'm not sure, well, you know, if you need to go or Jason needs to go. I don't have to go just yet. But I hope I wasn't being discourteous to the listeners. Just 3 guys sitting around talking guns.
Right. And that's the thing is, you know, we're always trying to cover at least a topic, but, you know, this is what you get with us. You're going to get those, you know, to quote the euphemism, you're going to get those squirrel moments where we go chasing off down a rabbit hole for whatever reason. But, you know, that's the best part is we may be sitting here talking about something and we're just thinking we're BSing, but there's going to be somebody out there listening to this podcast that maybe that was one of their questions. You know, maybe that was something they were looking for.
Is there any questions out there, Mike? Is there any listeners? Do we have a question?
I have not seen any questions.
Okay. But no, you're right. We're just sitting around, you know, shooting the breeze, but at the same time, we're teaching too.
Yep. So, well, so I guess since we seem to be pretty much covered this and we don't really have anything else to talk about at the current moment, probably call it a night.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes,
You
indeed.
get what
Thank
you
you,
pay
everyone.
for in this podcast. I will tell you that. You get what you pay for.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Well, do you think we'll ever catch up with the gun dudes, Jason?
No.
Them boys ain't right. And you can
Oh,
tell
no.
them I said that. They're just not right.
They're hilarious. So, they are indeed. Well, once again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And comments, questions, go to Reloading Podcast page on Google+, Facebook, go to the Reloading Room, and if you're going to go post on Facebook, especially if you're going to go in the Reloading Room, all we ask is you just put the lovely, hashtag Reloading Podcast. That way we can find the question also, and then, we'll cover it on air also. So, but yeah, we can't say enough about how quick you can get answers in the Reloading Room if you need an answer right away.
That's what I wanted when I created it, Mike. That's
Yep.
the way I wanted it, and it stayed that way.
It has. So, well, folks, you all have a good night. And kind of one of my favorite old radio shows, Burns and Allen, he'd always turn and go, "Say goodnight, Gracie." And that's what she'd say. So, except for this time, we'll say goodnight, Jim.
Good night, Mike.
Good night,
Good night,
Jason.
Jason, you ugly dog.
Good night.